to. One thing we want to do is there's a guy who works tirelessly for the Hall of Fame. He puts together the program, he puts together the autograph session, and let's all get together and give a great big round of applause to Mr. Jimmy Blanton. Okay, 2015 was a great year for the Hall of Fame. I think we've got a great cross-section of drivers, officials, owners, flagmen in this year's hall. So we're going to start. Who do you want to start with?
10 o'clock.
Okay, the first plaque we're going to give today goes to a driver who is pretty much synonymous with midget racing in the state of Arizona. I can't remember a time in all of the 30 or 40 years that I went to Manzanita Speedway, this guy's name was not at the top of the list all the time. Over the years, he amassed 7 different championships in Arizona alone, and also won a championship in Indiana. One of the most recognized names in all of midget racing in Arizona, Cactus Jack Yaley. Still looks the same as he did in 1974.
I got a little something to say here. My speech. Can you hear me? Oh, yeah. Yes, ma'am. All right, to get started here, I'd like to thank everyone for coming out tonight. I'd like to acknowledge my daughter, Tiffany, my wife, Judy, putting up with me and my racing, and for always being there for me. My past partner, Roger Williams, and my present partner, my son, JJ. I'd like to send a special shout out to some loyal friends, Craig Witz, Matt Rossi. Waited a long time for this to happen, and I'd just like to say how happy I am to be in the Arizona Racing Hall of Fame. I'm still alive and able to share this with my family and friends and supporters, and I'd like to thank you all.
And the man to my right is the chairman of the Arizona Motorsports Hall of Fame, Mr. Woody Woodmansey. So he will be. Okay, the next induction into the Hall of Fame. I'm a big guy on names, and there's names that you always recognize at a racetrack, mostly drivers, but not always. Manzanita, of course, there was Wendy McDonald as the announcer, but this next gentleman's name was synonymous with racing at Manzanita. He dressed colorfully, he was popular with the fans, he was popular with the drivers, and he was one of the finest individuals you will ever know. That was our flagman for so many years, Mr. Norm Zeman.
Hey, bro.
Accepting on Norm's behalf is his 3 daughters, and we're going to start with daughter Shelley. She's going to take over and introduce everybody to us. Be accepted.
My name is Shelley. This is my sister Howard. My family, and my granddaughter Casey.
Hello.
We just want to thank everybody who nominated our dad. It's a really big honor for him, and we're accepting on his behalf. Thank you.
Hey, everybody wants you to sit.
You ain't get no damn trouble out of this.
All right. Thank you.
It's a race. Let me talk
I'd like to thank everyone also. This means a lot to our family.
In the history of Manzanita, there were records that were set that everyone knew would be extremely hard to break. One of them was in 1963, when a car owner and Gene Brown joined up and won 15 main events in one season. Mind you, there were only 23 races on the schedule that year. But that's not the only thing this guy is famous for. He was a car designer, built the first space frame super modified in the state of Arizona in the early 60s. He designed a wing that was extraordinary. Drivers who got to drive for this man also said there was never a wing like it on a race car. After he got done as a car owner, he went on to become a chief mechanic. After he was a chief mechanic, he became a race official, and he was the racing director at Manzanita Speedway for many years after that. His family continued racing, and they're continuing to race tonight. And accepting the next award, the next honoree for the Hall of Fame, Mr. Johnny Turner.
Way to go, Johnny.
I didn't write a speech, so Jack, can I borrow yours? This man standing next to me, we grew up together. He went to the races with us all the time. Jimmy Blanton, thank you so much for what you do. Wendy, you're such a legend. My mom is in the car right behind us. She can't come up here, but she's 83 years old and wanted to come and celebrate this activity. So thank you so much. My brother Keith's down here, the Ogles over here, the Wheeler family who we grew up together and everything else. It's such an honor. Like you said, Dad was pit steward at the First Western States, and I wouldn't be here racing if it hadn't have been for the family and the legacy. So thank you for everybody that made this happen, and all you fans out here, thank you so much.
Yeah, Johnny Turner was like a father to a lot of us. We all learned a lot and respected him with the utmost of respect. Next guy on the agenda, during the glory years of the super modified division, basically from the middle 70s through probably the late 80s, this driver was one of the best in the business, won several championships, is ranked 4th all time in super modified wins behind a few guys that you might recognize: Gene Brown, Robert Harrell, William McSpadden, and that guy over there. He also did well in sprint cars. He also builds sprint cars. He's also the father of a very successful second generation driver. The next inductee into the Arizona Motorsports Hall of Fame, Mr. Lonnie Sherman.
I want to thank all the car owners I drove for. The car owners, fans, my family. I got a couple here that I drove for: Pat Kresman, Stacy Fuller, and Keith Ryan somewhere. I drove for them all, and I had a good time. I miss the car. I miss the Supers and that, but I miss Manzanita and that stuff too. And I want to thank Jimmy and Wendy and Hall of Fame committee and that stuff, and appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah! Well deserved. And the final nominee for the year of 2015, as we all know, we can't really have the quality of races we have without huge support from sponsors. over the past 40-plus years, whether it's at Manzanita or Canyon Raceway, on the side of a race car, or anywhere. In fact, tonight's race is indeed presented by the next inductee into the Arizona Motorsports Hall of Fame, and we thank him for all that he has done over the years, Mr. Buzz Sands. Accepting for Bud is Dennis Matisek, who drove for many years and is still a close associate of Buzz Sands.
Thank you very much. Really appreciate that.
Stephanie, your name.
On behalf of Buzz Sands, I'd like to thank all the people that made this award possible. I'm sure he's going to really enjoy it, and I'll give it to him at my earliest convenience. Thank you.
Alrighty, that's our class of 2015. Once again, let's remember them all. It's Jack Daly, Johnny Turner, Norm Zeman, Buzz Sands, and Lonnie Sherman.